The Secret Language of the Soul, a Journey into Our Dreams. What if your dreams weren't just random noise from a sleeping brain? What if, every night, you receive a personal message, a letter from the deepest, wisest part of yourself showing you the unvarnished truth? This was the revolutionary idea proposed by a Swiss doctor named Carl Jung. At a time when dreams were largely dismissed or misunderstood, he suggested that they were not only meaningful, but served a vital, life-sustaining function. The core of his theory rests on a single, elegant principle: compensation. To understand it, Carl Jung asked us to look at the wisdom of our own bodies. The human psyche, he argued, is a self-regulating system, just like our physical form. When our body gets too hot, it automatically sweats to cool itself down. It doesn't need to be told, it simply acts to restore balance. Jung believed the psyche does the same. When our conscious mind becomes too one-sided, too rigid, or too focused on one way of seeing the world, the unconscious mind produces a dream to act as a counterweight. The dream, in this view, is an ally. It is a friend that emerges from the depths of our mind when we are in danger of losing our way. It is not there to confuse or frighten us, but to work for our good, not our destruction. It is the psyche's way of keeping us whole. But if the dream is a helpful ally, a force for balance, what exactly is it saving us from? To grasp the revolutionary power of Carl Jung's idea, we must first understand the theory that dominated the world at the time, the theory of his mentor and, eventually, his great rival, Sigmund Freud. Freud saw the dream through a very different lens. For him, the dream's primary purpose was wish fulfillment. He imagined the unconscious as a kind of dark basement where we store all of our forbidden desires and repressed memories, primarily of a sexual nature, locked away since childhood. Because these wishes are too shocking for our conscious mind to handle, an inner censor stands guard. When we dream, this censor disguises the forbidden wishes, wrapping them in bizarre and confusing imagery. The dream, therefore, was a secret code. Its main job was to conceal. The psychoanalyst's task was to decode this disguise, always looking backwards to the childhood experiences that caused the dream in the first place. This is where the two great minds of psychology parted ways. Jung, through his own work with patients, began to feel that this view was too narrow, too reductive. He couldn't accept that the dream's sole purpose was to hide a forbidden wish. He began to form a radically different conclusion. The dream is not a concealer, but a revealer. It doesn't try to trick us. It shows us the unvarnished, natural truth of who we are, as we are. This disagreement between the dream as a disguise and the dream as a revelation marked a pivotal moment in our understanding of the human mind. It also left Carl Jung with a profound question to answer. If the dream isn't hiding something, what is it trying to show us? Carl Jung soon realized that the dream's balancing act was more sophisticated than he first thought. It doesn't just shout no every time our conscious mind is wrong. Instead, it speaks with different voices, its tone and message changing depending on just how out of balance we are. He identified 3 distinct ways this compensation can appear. The first voice, opposition. This is the dream at its most dramatic. When our conscious attitude becomes extremely one-sided, the dream will take the absolute opposite side to shock us back into awareness. Carl Jung saw this repeatedly in his clinical practice. He told the story of a patient who was convinced he had no moral problems whatsoever. His conscious mind was pure, but this purity was dangerously one-sided. His psyche responded with a dream in which he saw himself as a drunken tramp wallowing in a ditch. He confessed that he once held a superior attitude toward a patient, looking down on her both intellectually and morally. That night, he had a dream that she was sitting on a high tower, forcing him to crane his neck and look up at her. The dream was a humbling and necessary corrective to his own ego. The second voice, variation. If our conscious mind is already fairly balanced and not clinging to an extreme view, the dream's voice is much softer. It may only offer slight modifications or variations on our waking thoughts, gently nudging us rather than shoving us. This form, however, is more enigmatic and was less articulated by Carl Jung himself. The third voice, emphasis. Most surprisingly, Carl Jung discovered that if our conscious attitude is correct and healthy, the dream will actually agree with us. It will produce images that emphasize and support our waking viewpoint, confirming that we are on the right path. This proves that the dream is not mindlessly oppositional. It is a true partner, dedicated only to maintaining our overall psychological health. But this process is about far more than just achieving simple balance. A simple back and forth, like a thermostat kicking on and off, would be a recipe for boredom and stagnation, not growth. Jung realized the process was teleological. It is purposeful and forward-looking. The dream doesn't just correct a past mistake to return us to a neutral state. It uses our current imbalance as a carefully directed rocket burst to propel us forward toward growth, maturity, and a more complete version of ourselves. This forward-looking purpose implies that our mind has a destination in mind, a hidden map of our own potential. But where do these powerful guiding dreams come from? To answer that question, Jung created a new map of the human mind. He argued that the unconscious was not a single dark basement, as Freud had suggested, but a vast territory with two distinct and remarkable realms. The first, more superficial layer, he called the personal unconscious. You can think of this as your own private attic. It's filled with everything that belongs uniquely to you. Forgotten memories from your childhood, experiences you've repressed, and the unique emotional patterns, or complexes, that shape your life. Dreams that bubble up from this layer are personal dreams. They speak about your boss, your relationships, and your daily struggles. They are written in the language of your own life. But beneath this personal attic lies Jung's most radical and famous discovery, the collective unconscious. If our personal minds are small islands, the collective unconscious is the deep, ancient ocean that connects us all. It is not something we acquire during our lives. It is our shared, inherited reservoir of universal human experiences, myths, and symbols. We are all born with it. The inhabitants of this deep ocean are the archetypes, innate symbols that all humans understand from birth. These are the universal patterns of human existence, the hero, the mother, the trickster, the quest. When a dream rises from this deep ocean, it is what Carl Jung called a big dream. These dreams feel different. They are profound, mysterious, and have a spiritual quality that connects us not just to our own small life, but to the entire story of humanity. This new map of the mind didn't just add a layer, it changed everything. A dream that comes from this deep, collective ocean cannot be understood by only looking at personal history. To attempt to do so would be a hopeless undertaking. This discovery meant that a new method of interpretation was now absolutely necessary. This deep, collective realm is not silent. It speaks to us through a cast of powerful, recurring characters who appear in our modern dreams. But who are they? The big dreams that guide us are populated by these archetypes, universal characters who appear not as a random cast, but as guides on a developmental journey. This journey follows a clear map, beginning in the personal depths and moving toward the universal center of the soul. The first step on this path requires us to meet our own shadow. This is our unknown dark side, containing all the parts of ourselves we refuse to acknowledge. In dreams, the shadow often appears as a person of the same sex, a shadowy figure, or, as in the case of Carl Jung's patient, a drunken tramp. But the shadow is not purely evil. It also contains our shadow gold, valuable, positive qualities we may have repressed, like creativity or assertiveness. Confronting the shadow is the essential first stage of the inner journey. Once we have begun to wrestle with our personal darkness, the next character emerges to guide us deeper. These are our soul images, the anima, an inner feminine figure for a man, and the animus, an inner masculine figure for a woman. These figures act as a crucial bridge, leading us from our personal ego to the vast, collective world of the archetypes. Only after we have wrestled long enough with these soul images, when we are truly lost and need guidance beyond our own abilities, do the next figures appear. These are the mana personalities, the wise old man or the wise old woman. They personify profound wisdom, appearing in our dreams as a guru, a wizard like Gandalf or Dumbledore, or a village elder, offering a deeper level of insight when we are finally ready to receive it. At the end of this developmental path, we meet the central character and the ultimate goal of our inner journey, the self. The self is not our everyday ego. It is the archetype of wholeness, the true center of our total personality, representing the unification of both our conscious mind and our entire unconscious world. Its primary symbol is the mandala, the sacred circle. This symbol often appears spontaneously in dreams during times of great stress or conflict. Its function is to order chaos, pulling the fractured pieces of our psyche back toward a stable, unified center. These characters are not random figments of our imagination. They are guides on a lifelong journey. But what is the name of this journey, and where does it lead? The ultimate purpose of our dreams, the guiding mission of the archetypes, and the entire goal of the Jungian model can be summed up in a single word: individuation. Individuation is the mind's lifelong quest for wholeness. It is the process of becoming the person you were always meant to be by integrating the conscious and unconscious parts of your personality. Carl Jung made a critical distinction here. The goal is not perfection, which is an impossible, one-sided ideal. The goal is wholeness. Wholeness is not about being flawless. It is about learning to hold the opposites within you, light and dark, masculine and feminine, without being torn apart by them. This journey is a delicate one, like walking on a razor's edge. Jung said its aim was to divest the self of the false wrappings of the persona on the one hand and the suggestive power of primordial images on the other. This describes the two great dangers. The first is to be trapped by our persona, the social mask we wear for the world, becoming nothing but our job title or social role. The other is to be overwhelmed by the powerful archetypes of the inner world, a state Carl Jung called archetypal inflation, where we lose our footing in reality. This is where the dream's compensatory function becomes our master regulator. The dream is the force that keeps us on that razor's edge. When we lean too far into our social mask, the dream pulls us back. When we are in danger of being swept away by the unconscious, it pulls us back the other way. But sometimes, when the quiet messages from our inner world are repeatedly ignored, the psyche has more dramatic ways of getting our attention. What happens when a dream's whisper becomes a shout that echoes in the real world? When our dreams break into reality. The forward-looking, purposeful nature of dreams can sometimes produce phenomena that seem to border on the supernatural. This led Carl Jung to two of his most fascinating and controversial ideas. The first is the prospective function, the dream's ability to anticipate the future. Carl Jung insisted this was not magic. Rather, it is the unconscious mind's incredible ability to pick up on subtle signs and patterns that our conscious mind overlooks. It's an early detection system, and often it issues a warning, a whisper from the future. Carl Jung told the tragic story of an experienced mountain climber who shared a dream with him. In the dream, the climber reached a glorious summit, and in a moment of pure exhilaration, he impulsively stepped off into thin air. Carl Jung saw this as a clear warning from the unconscious, a whisper urging caution. The climber dismissed the advice. 3 months later, he was killed when he literally stepped into thin air while descending a mountain. The whisper had been ignored. The climber's story is the story of a whisper ignored. But what happens when the psyche's message is so vital and our conscious mind so resistant that a whisper isn't enough? This is when the psyche is forced to shout, escalating its message by breaking through the boundary between our inner and outer worlds. Carl Jung called this phenomenon synchronicity, or meaningful coincidence. It is a moment when an inner event, like a dream, is mirrored by an outer event in the physical world, with no logical cause connecting the two. His most famous case involved a patient who was trapped in a rigid, rationalist view of the world. She was telling Carl Jung about a powerful dream in which someone had given her a golden scarab beetle. At that exact moment, Carl Jung heard a gentle tapping at his office window. He opened it and caught a flying insect, a rose chafer beetle, the closest European equivalent to an Egyptian scarab. He turned to his stunned patient and said, "Here is your scarab." This impossible moment was transformative, shattering her one-sided, rational worldview and opening her up to the profound messages of her inner life. These events, the whisper and the shout, demonstrate the profound lengths to which the psyche will go to guide us, to push us, and to call us back to the path of wholeness. In the end, Carl Jung's vision presents a profound shift in our relationship with ourselves. Dreams are not problems to be solved or codes to be cracked. They are the spontaneous, honest, and natural voice of the psyche, offering us guidance every single night. The goal of this work is not simply to fix our neurosis and send us on our way. It is to equip us with the tools to maintain contact with the unconscious long after any therapy has ended. The aim is independence, self-knowledge, and the ability to listen to the wisdom that resides within us. Carl Jung's great gift was to remind us that we are not alone on our journey. We all have a wise, lifelong companion within, a guide that speaks to us every night in the secret language of the soul. All we have to do is learn to listen.